As the firstborn, I didn't have another man to look up to in the home. He would travel 150 nights a year. He would be gone. That was painful for me. We as millennial dads, we have a different type of challenge when it comes to presence because of the fact that the boundaries between work life and home life, they really don't exist. While we may be home more, we may travel less, there's still a real challenge to offer presence that is a meaningful presence to our children.
You can be present, but actually not there entirely. The greatest thing that you can give to your kids is not maybe your presence and just being in the room, but it's your attention.
I would love to know from y'all's perspective, where have we swung too far?
I think we've lost the emphasis on like, hey, your kids need to learn how to navigate danger well. That gets lost in this world of like, no, everything has to be safe and everything has to be just right. Like, listen, like your kids are probably gonna have trauma.
You're doing the opposite of what you're hoping for. You're not building emotionally resilient kids. You're not building kids that actually understand maybe even how reality works.
Welcome to At Home. We are joined today by brothers.
Yes, we are. Brothers.
Why are you already hitting me?
Because it's what brothers do.
I told him before this that he was going to do something.
Although I was really more of your protector because we're almost 9 years apart. But
you're still my brother. You're still my brother.
And guys, I told you that today we're going to do this.
Yeah, you told us we were doing
You
this.
agreed because I wanted to talk about millennial dads. I know that's a hot topic right now. And we have a older millennial dad.
Yeah, all the way.
Wow. Okay. I'm not all the way. I'm not all the way.
It stops.
It's because you are an older millennial and then you had children right away.
It's true. That does
So the
age me
gap-
by at least 3 to 6
The
years.
gap in y'all's fatherhood journeys, I think, will serve our viewers well because you're an older millennial dad. You're a younger millennial dad.
Very young millennial dad.
I love it.
No, it's great. I'm in it.
young.
I'm in it. I'm in it to win it. Let's do it.
Addison turns 40 next week, so all of the jokes are rolling.
Or he might already be 40. See? Go ahead.
The metaverse. So y'all talk a little bit about an intro, Arden. How old are your kids? How long have you been a dad?
Yeah, I only have 2 kids. So, I mean, everything I say, you can take it as very much he might still be learning. But I have a 4-year-old, or about to be 4-year-old, and a 18-month-old, and boy and girl. Azariah, Jax is our oldest, and then Tatum Alice is our youngest.
You're such a good dad.
You're such a good dad. How did you view fatherhood before becoming a dad?
Yeah, I mean, I think I was so excited about fatherhood from the idea that I get to steward someone's life. And I get to raise them and go through all of those emotions, those days, the experiences, and seeing those things in a fresh new lens. I think as you're obviously in it now, you watch things. I remember seeing a video that someone was like, the reason why I took my kid to Disneyland, and it was showing all the parades and everything. And it was like the reason why I took my kid to Disneyland. It was just a full focus in on the son's face and just looking at his emotions as he's experiencing that. And so I think that's been my perception of like, man, I get to watch and mold this child as they go and experience life in such a different way than I did, but I get to emphasize the things that I've learned, and hopefully they don't go through the same challenges that I did, and that they can take it, and what can I do better and different as I raise my child. And so that was really like what got me excited. I look at being a father right now and I say it's one of the most fulfilling things in my life. And so I very much enjoy it.
You are an awesome dad.
Thank you.
It's so fun.
Still very early on.
What about you, big guy?
Well, you know how many kids I have since you had all my kids, but I have 4 kids, 16, 15, 11, and 9. And in many ways, I feel like I'm a new dad too, because I think fatherhood, I know I'm 16 years into it, almost 17 years into it, but I feel like fatherhood just expands and extends with every season. And you don't graduate beyond fatherhood. You certainly graduate into fatherhood. And for me, growing up, I wanted to be a dad more than I wanted to be anything else. Like that was the thing. that I wanted to be. Yes, there were other things that I wanted to do, but being a father was always at the top of the list. So yeah, it feels like a dream come true.
Yeah, you're a great dad.
Yeah, you're a very good dad, which is why you fathered me early on.
and we are. I'm the first of 4 boys, and he's the fourth of 4 boys. So there's a bit of an age gap between us, and our father traveled a lot. And I will say this, honestly, that was a part of, I think, that pain of my father being gone.
And give people some context.
As much as he was. I mean, he would travel, some years, 250
nights.
250 nights a year, he would be gone. And as the firstborn, I didn't have another man to look up to in the home. And so I certainly felt the gap. And that was painful for me. I mean, I carried that into adulthood, even conversations.
What part of it in particular?
So I would say the absence of presence and time together, meaningful time together, that would lead to certain conversations that I would say were formative conversations where I felt like my dad just wasn't present because he was doing what he was supposed to be doing for God. And at times I allowed the narrative in my head to be that I was a distraction or an inconvenience that kept him from being fully engaged with the purpose that God had for his life. And now my dad would never explicitly communicate that to me, nor did my dad believe that. But there was space because of how much he was gone. There was space for the enemy to create that narrative in my life. And so a part of me wanting to be a father was me responding to a place of pain and wanting to be that presence for my children and to be in their lives in a different way.
Yeah. What was your experience of that, Arden? Like you said, Addison's the oldest of 4 boys.
Yeah.
You're the youngest of the 4 boys, and your parents, I mean, you're 9 years apart.
Mm-hmm.
So the seasons of your childhood where there were ebbs and flows and the intense travel schedule was different.
Yeah, I think I saw it very different because I did have Addison as a reflection of an older man in my life, to be able to look at the things that he was doing and for him to be present with me. I look at so many different memories in my life. Like one of my fondest memories is Addison taking me to Chuck E. Cheese as a kid. And like, I don't know why, but I went on, I remember, like a hot streak, and I won every single one of the jackpots in these different games. And like, to me, that was a core memory with a father figure in my life. And it doesn't mean that I didn't have that with my dad. We very much did. I have a lot of experiences with that, but to me, it felt like I had a little bit of a boundary of feeling like, look, I'm reflecting my older brother and my dad, and I know my older brother reflects my dad, and so I'm seeing these things play out in my life.
Yeah.
And then Addison, you guys got married when I was 12, I believe it was. And so you even kind of removed yourself out of the house, but yet you were still very present in our life. And you were, often at times at the house every single weekend watching football games or stuff like that with me. Mm-hmm. And so I felt like it looked a little bit different. I think what I did always feel growing up was I felt like most people would just leave. Like that was just the nature of my relationship with people, because we had such inconsistent dynamics with people who watched us, is I just expected eventually people are just going to leave, and that's okay. And I kind of told myself that, but I didn't feel like it really, negatively impacted my dynamic with my dad and the way I saw it. I felt like God actually blessed me with having older brothers, specifically Addison, I would say, that helped fill that hole in my life, maybe. And Dad did such an incredible job when he was home. I think when you think about being present, man, he was always so present when he was home. Mm-hmm. And we understood the weight of the call, but then we also felt like we didn't question whether our dad did love us and was around. I mean, the amount of times we got phone calls every single night when he was traveling just to go through. And we went through the process of it just being like the, annoying teenager where it's like, I'm not going to talk to you long, Dad. But like, even if it was just, we were jumping on the phone and we're like, yeah, Dad, no, today was great. Yep. No. Yeah, I'm going to pass you to Austin kind of thing. Like, that's it. I'm watching something. There was subconsciously, we knew our dad cared about us. And so there was I feel like for me, a better balance within all that.
Yeah.
And I want to be clear too, just to be honoring to my father. And I think you hear this, and I know Arden knows this. for me, it was the space, because the enemy's going to find space for all of us to come in and try to tell us a lie that is built on elements of truth. And for me, when it comes to fatherhood and it comes to the presence of the Father and the power of the presence of the Father, the enemy would try to get me to focus on things that I didn't have, rather than being aware of the intentionality and the constraints and the reality that, like, my dad was doing what he believed he was supposed to do.
Yeah.
And that in itself is a boon for this son, to have this sense of, like, my father is living with purpose. That lends strength to a son and the son's formation. And to Arden's point, when our father was home, he was very intentional about being home. And we as millennial dads, I might be getting ahead of you.
You totally are, but do it.
We as millennial dads, we have a different type of challenge when it comes to presence, because of smartphones, because of the fact that the boundaries between work life and home life, they really don't exist the way they used to exist a generation ago. So while we may be home more, we may travel less, there's still a real challenge to offer presence that is a meaningful presence to our children.
Yeah. Yeah, you were hopping right into it, because even with all of that said, there is a different expectation now on fathers. And that's kind of the jumping off point of this, was like, today's dads are more involved than ever. They're changing diapers, coaching teams. I think the
minivan sales,
that there's this draw towards wanting to be the absolute best, most present, most available, most supportive of your wife, best partner with your wife.
Yeah.
I don't know that this was even language in the generation before us. And so some of what we're seeing is a pendulum swing. Now, you guys have such a healthy perspective on what that culture was, where it maybe missed it sometimes, but ultimately, and I actually credit your mom a ton with the health of your perspective of what your dad was doing as being something for you, for your good, for your family, not taking away from your family, which is a massive shift. And I think maybe we'll get into that some with things that y'all wish wives could know. I'll pretend like I'm not your wife at that part.
Oh gosh.
I'll keep the most like stoic face you've ever
How is this
seen.
landing right now?
So when you guys hear people say dads are more present than ever before, what does that mean to you?
Yeah. I think it's a kind of even what we already alluded to. I think it's not actually telling the full truth. I have seen it very much so, in a challenge in our first 4 years with our kids is I can be present, and I've been telling our team this with bestow this with your team. You can be present, but actually not there entirely. And I think the greatest thing that you can give to your kids is not maybe your presence and just being in the room, but it's your attention. And that means, like, as Addison was saying, the boundaries are just, they're increasingly just not there anymore. You're constantly getting messages or emails. You have access to all this stuff. And so, and not only that, it could be not work, but it could be just filling the void of noise. Like, and I want to listen to sports talk radio, and it's right there on my phone. It's not I gotta go turn on a radio station. It's right there on my phone, so I could put this on while I'm cleaning up the kitchen even, but yet the kids are right there and they're playing, and they're dad, look at this, and I'm like, it's just, there's a tension that is different from just presence. And that was why it was so good when my dad was home, because he was very intentional. I'm coming home early and I'm going to give you my full attention. We're going to play cards, we're going to play games, and I'll even play ping pong, whatever it is. And I've ran into this challenge really to feel like, man, I come home from work and I know there's just still more stuff to get done. And how can I give my full attention to my kids? And even I was already thinking about it today, because I was like, I'm going to go home and I'm going to make sure my phone's not going to be picked up again until the kids are in bed. And I'm going to make sure I'm on the floor playing with them. I'm outside playing, as he already told me, he's like, we're going to play tag. And so I know what I need to give him.
Prepare yourself.
Yeah. Like I know what I need to give
And he's an aggressive tag player.
He is he makes a scrunch face.
Yeah, he does.
Like that. And so I know what I need to give them, but I've just watched this so much as right now, it's harder than anything to give our attention or give our attention to something. Even though we're present. And I've watched even when in the discipline side of things, where it's like, man, you try to give discipline to your kids and you're thinking, I am disciplining you, but you're not actually taking time to get their attention. You're just kind of letting them go through the motion. You're yelling out something to correct them. And that's actually the only attention you are giving them. And then you're going right back to whatever it is that you're working on or doing. And so then they're like, oh, if I do this, I get my dad's attention. That's nice. Like, I'll do it again. Because I want my dad's attention. Yeah. That's ultimately what they want.
Yeah, that is a massive trap, especially for kids in like the toddler, early childhood, where you're right. That's the time when you're like, oh, wait, discipline is needed. And as a father, discipline is needed. I'm up to bat. Let me give it my all. Or your wife is also looking at you like, hey,
you gonna do something?
You need to discipline them. But when that is the only attention that you're giving to them, like you're saying, Arden, that's really important to point out that that's when they keep doing the action that requires the discipline because it got your attention. Mm-hmm. Like, oh, that's what I really wanted. Yeah. I was after my dad's attention and this is how I get it. I'm going to do it again. Yeah. Even if it comes with pain and frustration. That shows how valuable attention is to children.
Yeah. And to get things to stick. Like, I know I've got a 4-year-old and a less than 2-year-old. And so what I've noticed though is our kids are so sweet. They're so sweet. Yeah. And people have told us like, oh, you're so blessed that your kids are so sweet. And I'm like, I don't know if it's, sometimes your kids are just wild and sometimes they're not. And it's like, you get blessed or not. I'm like, there's just been so many things that we've intentionally done that I've watched as younger parents just don't do with their kids. And one of those things has been, and Christians told me like, I value this so much that you've done this with our kids, is whenever I need to correct Azariah early on and still today, is I would get right on his eye level and I would go down to the ground and I'd get him to stop whatever he was doing. And I would just be like, Azariah, come here. And I would look him right in my eyes so that he would know, like, I'm giving you my full attention right now. And I would explain out what are you doing right now that's wrong? Why do you know that's wrong? And I would have like this conversation to him rather than just kind of calling out from across the room of like, hey, Azariah, stop doing that. Or no, don't do that. And I've watched this even when we have people over and it's like, they're saying, hey, no, don't do that. No. And the kid's just like, no, like, and keeps going on and just keeps doing it. And then
walks around the corner.
Yeah. And then the parents just like, and they, because they're not putting in the attention to almost like teach that kid. Mm-hmm. Yeah. And so for the kid, they're like, oh, all I got to do is just say no and keep going along with my thing. And I'm fine.
Y'all, I'm so excited that Logos Bible Software, they're part of the at-home community now, and they want to offer a 60-day package, 60-day of free access to their incredible Bible software.
Yeah.
And I love it. I use it all the time.
I was going to say, they've actually been a part of the at-home.
I've wanted them to be a partner.
Because you use it so frequently.
It's a big deal. And what I love about it, they have this study assistant that leverages the power of AI without opening you to the crazy library of stuff that's just out there on the internet. So it's specific to what is in Logos and available. So,
and they want to give it to our listeners for free for 60 days.
60 days, y'all. So go to logos.com/Beveres and you can get all the details there.
And I remember we were watching a girl when she was playing with Azariah and Tatum, and I needed her just to move from this one spot over here. And I was like, hey, go ahead and let's move over here. And she just goes, no, and starts walking away from me. And I just gently pulled back her and just turned her right around, got on her level, looked her in the eye. And I just said, hey, you do not say no to me. We're going to go back over here. And she was like, okay. And I like quickly like picked her up and I was like, yay. And I celebrated her and started playing with her. And it wasn't this moment where she like got scared or just anything. She was like, oh, like you took this moment. And then I saw like she connected so much more with me over the next few hours that we had her. And I just saw like the intentionality of attention in those moments where it feels like, yes, your attention is one side of things where work's pulling you away, but you're almost your mind. And it's almost like dads and parents now in day and age, it's like your attention span has gotten so much lower.
Yeah.
And so it is easy for you to be like, hey, no, don't do that, and jump right back into the other thing because your attention's hard to keep into that moment. But if you really take the time and the intentionality, like I've watched it with our kids where I'm like, they're great, they're amazing, they're fantastic. I love our kids, but we've also seen where our kids go through seasons and it's like, what are we doing wrong?
Yeah.
And I remember just looking at Christian, I'm like, I need to give Azariah more of my attention this week. And I'm going to make sure I'm going to stay in his bed a little bit longer at night. I'm going to really play with him. I'm going to, if I see something that has been the consistent thing, I'm going to explain it out to him. And I do that. And I watch as it's like that bad behavior starts just to die off. And then that sweet little kid just comes right back up. And so kids just really need that. And it's more and more challenging in today's day and age than ever has been before.
It is. There's so much pulling and vying for your attention. What about you, Hot Stuff?
Well, when I was listening to what Arden was sharing, which I think is so good, I was reminded of Proverbs 22 verse 6, where it talks about training up a child in the way that child should go. And that idea of training a child up, we think of it as, hey, I'm going to do this at a distance, or kind of like how Arden was describing, I'm going to yell at you across the room. And the reality is what that word conveys is this intimate training where we are face to face, where you have my attention, where there's a closeness, there's an intimacy, there's a knowing between the two people that allows you to guide them into spaces and allows you to teach them things that they otherwise don't know, that aren't just abstract or just like a concept that you're telling them in that moment, but something that carries over into other moments where it translates to other situations and other interactions with other kids or in other people's homes where you know, like, hey, they're embodying that belief and they're able to contextualize it because you didn't just tell them not to do that thing, like don't touch that thing. You trained them, hey, this is what's actually going on here. Let me come here. Let me give you my attention. Let me help you know that you are seen, and let me show you a different way to understand what you're understanding right now. And the truth is that kind of training, it does take a presentness and attention that's different than just being in the room. And I do think we mistake being in the room, being home, we mistake that for being present to our kids and giving our kids their attention. And I know I've been in seasons where I have not given my kids the attention that they needed in that day and that week. I mean, we've talked about it when Lizzie was born in 2014. I was in the midst of a very dark season. And I did what I could to show up day in and day out for my family, but I wasn't as present to Lizzie during that season. And I've shared this with you. I feel like that has changed my relationship with Lizzie, where we have a different relationship than I do with the other three kids. Now, I've seen God work in that and redeem it. And I actually wrote Lizzie a letter this year for her birthday, which is something I do for my kids. Once they turn 10, I write them a letter every year on their birthday that is something that's specific to what I see for them in that year. Well, this was the first time I really brought Lizzie into that part of my journey. And I articulated that source of pain in the letter and spoke to the light that she is and how she has been such a light to our family and such a light in her school. And that I call her just yellow because she embodies the color yellow. That's who Lizzie is.
Take that, John Mayer.
Take that, John Mayer. Oh, that's Coldplay. Coldplay has the yellow song. Anyway, so she read the letter. I walked into the house and she just ran up to me and she was bawling. and just grab me. I had no idea how she would even respond to it. I didn't know if she was just going to be like, oh, that's cool. Thanks, Dad. And she was just weeping. And so my thing, I want parents to hear out there, you're like, you hear this, you hear what Arden's talking about. And I look at my younger brother, I'm like, man, you're doing this better than I did this.
You sound like your dad.
I know. And I feel, but I look at him, I'm like, man, he's doing this so well. I wish I would have known some of these things. And I think the gift is like our failures, our mistakes, as we surrender them, as we acknowledge them, we can pass those along as a strength or as a promise or as a possibility to the people who are coming up behind us. And so like my hope even for my children is where I've missed it. Like I think another part of it is I'm less critical of my parents now because I am more aware of how I've missed it as a father of 4. And I want my kids to extend mercy to me so that they can receive mercy from God when they're making their own mistakes as parents. I want my kids to see both humility and confidence from me so they can lead with humility and confidence, because you need humility and you also need the courage and the confidence to set a direction and to bring your family on an adventure. So those are just some of my thoughts based on what Arden shared and what you're asking about presence and what it looks like to steward these seasons well.
Yeah. And you guys are both like such incredible examples of godly, amazing fathers. I want to get a bit into like the nitty gritty, because what you're saying, Arden, and stewarding the moments of discipline and connection, the moments that make up a childhood, that make up the foundation of these people you've been entrusted with. In order to steward those moments well, you also have to be taking care of yourself. Yeah. And I know that there's been probably a decade now of a big push for moms towards self-care and getting what they need to be able to be the best for their family. And now that dads are so much more a part of the equation. I mean, these antiquated lines of like dad goes to work and mom is home with the family, which largely that traditional structure has been Addison and I's experience, the 17 years that we've been raising children. But that shifted. And we were talking last night, like we remember a time when he went to work from 8 to 5, and after 5 there was nothing. And he came home and it was full presence, and something has been lost. Yeah. In the midst of so much accessibility. And you guys have touched on the attention part of it, but practically speaking, as men, as fathers, as husbands, as people who are active and involved in life and community and serving with what you've been given, how do you structure your life? And I guess I need to piece this up into different areas. What are your non-negotiables for caring for you and getting what you need in order to be able to have the energy in an ideal week? I know any given week can vary, especially for you, Arden, with small children. It's like if one of them is sick, it's like, oh yeah, everything has gone out the window and we're in survival mode. Yeah. Which there's a sweetness in that too. And even that, like being able to hold these moments well, you have to have some strength.
Strength and flexibility.
Yes.
Because the rigidity is not helpful. Yeah. But also not having any structure is terribly unhelpful too. So I think it's finding that, and balance is not even the right word. I think it's being present to what the day, what the week, what your partner needs from you is really important. And I was talking about this actually with a couple of my friends earlier this week, and we were talking about the fact that every single home, it looks different. The dynamic between the husband and the wife, it's going to look different, right? And that's the reality of it. No two are the same, but we are co-owners of our home. So in the sense of like an organization, we are owners. We're a part of the board of directors, and we have to be aligned as far as the vision and the needs and stuff like that of our family. Even if our distinct roles take us in different places, we have to make sure that we're aligned when it comes to the vision and the values of how we navigate family. And so that's a place for us, as I would say, as men, to just be honest about, hey, these are some things that I need. And for women to be honest, hey, these are the things that I need. And we work that out. We build that into schedule, like a schedule that makes sense, while also creating space for things to flex. But I do think that there are some, like Arden even said today, like specific to today, when I get home, my phone's going away. I'm not looking at it until the kids go to bed. So that means, if I text him about something like, hey, check out this thing that I found, he's not going to see it. That's okay. It doesn't make him a bad brother. It just makes him a very present husband and father. That's brilliant. That's what his family, he recognizes as a father. Hey, you know what? My son really needs my attention today. It's going to look like this for today. So I think it goes back to what we've been talking about, and I feel like this has been a consistent theme, but that sensitivity in the morning of, like, as a father in particular, getting up, hearing from God, receiving from God as your father, and not going into the day from this place of empty or self-sufficiency or striving to prove something, but going into the day with this awareness of, okay, God, what does my wife need from me today? What do my kids need from me today? God, what are you speaking to me about who I am as your son? How is that going to translate to how I father my son, how I father my daughter, what I speak over them, the moments that I create with them, things like that? Because without that perspective, it's so easy to get caught into the cycle of just doing whatever is yelling the loudest at you.
Hey, I want to stop this episode really quick, and I hope you guys are enjoying our conversation that we're having about being dads. But I want to tell you something I think is really important for all families to understand and go through. And obviously, that's taxes. We all navigate taxes, but we had the sponsor of this video, which is actually one of our board members and a good friend of ours, Phil Liberatori, came alongside and said, hey, I want to make sure people are aware of the services that we provide. And so they do tax relief, which is absolutely incredible. They will do your tax returns. But not only that, as I remember years and years ago when we first started working with them, that we came to them and they went and backtracked all of our taxes. And they came back to us, and we didn't pay a dime, came back to us and they said, hey, here is all the money that you should have gotten over these past few years, and they handed us a big check. I have had so many friends that as they've gone to them, they have done the exact same thing. So I can't encourage you enough just to go ahead and sign up to working with Phil, because they're gonna set you up in a significant place on your taxes and just make the whole process so simple. So go over to stopirspain.com and sign up today, and the link is also in our description below. Now let's jump back into our conversation. Yeah, that all is very great. I think that, as the last statement that you just said, whatever is yelling loudest at you is the reality that we're living in, where it literally is like I get off the phone with my wife and I'm trying to get her attention, and I've got two kids just screaming in the background, and it's like I can't get her attention to answer these questions for me, because it's just, there's small kids, there's things just you never know. No 2 days are the same. I think for me is I feel like I have these non-negotiables where I'm like, I know if I do these things, then I'll be able to show up in whatever the day is gonna hit me with. And it is the time with the Lord in the morning. And so I typically am always up. It's so much easier now, of course, during the summer, but up between 5 and 5:30. And I just get out there and I'm reading my Bible, and I get that quiet time before anyone gets up, which, I saw a funny meme where someone was like, yeah, people say get up earlier to get time, without the kids. And it's like 5 a.m. I get up, 5:01, a little kid staring in the background. And that was what happened this morning. Is I got out of the shower and was out there at 5:45, and 6 a.m. on the nose as he comes walking out the door. And but like, the cool thing about that though, is then his immediate response was not, can I get food or anything else? I lay him on the couch because I'm like, buddy, it's still early. And I lay him on the couch and he's like, can I get my Bible? And so he just mirroring what I'm doing in that moment. And he does that almost every single time he wakes up early with me, and he's just reading and looking at the pictures in his Bible. And so,
were you able to stay like dialed in? You didn't feel torn?
No, he'll read it. And then, it doesn't last long, but it'll be soon. Can I get some food? Can I get water? And something like that. So then the ask starts beginning to pile up. And then for me, it's also just getting workout time. And I do feel like that's kind of a non-negotiable, because I need to get some kind of release. I'm like, I need to get a testosterone release of getting in the gym, feeling like I'm taking care of my body and not feeling like I'm just getting hit by everything.
Yeah.
But it is something that right now, like I would say, we don't have it perfectly figured out.
Yeah.
We have a very clear dynamic with Christian and I where it's like she has a lot of things that she's got to do work-wise and not just being a mother. And I've got a lot of things that I've got to do work-wise and not just being a father. And so those things always just feel like Christian has to almost put her work stuff in the margin because why I've got a structured work week and these are my working times and this is what I got to do. And then you got to figure it out whenever I can maybe not be on a meeting and I can watch the kids upstairs for 2 hours while I'm sitting on my computer or something like that.
Yeah.
It's just kind of very fluid. But I know, again, like if I do have those things for me and same thing with Christian, whereas hers is a little bit harder. If the kids are up and she's trying to read, they're like, I want to sit right on your lap and I want to.
One kid in particular.
Yes, Tatum for sure. Like I want to be right there with you.
Face to face.
Yeah, nonstop. And so it's harder for her. But she always just try to find that time, but it's just different. And so it looks different, and I know it will keep evolving and changing. I think what we're trying to do more and more is just really figure out what are those things that we need to do. But then two, also like just be so thankful for the season we are in.
Yeah.
I was talking last night with Christian and I was just like, the reality of it is Azariah is turning 4 this year. And to me, that's like, he's almost 1/4 of the way through his time with us. You know, if we're saying he's leaving at 18, like, you know, in our house, like
You're Italian. No one leaves at 18.
Yes, that's true. That's true. But again, I was just thinking that through of if you went to college at 18 or whatever it was, like, man, it's gone by so fast.
Yeah.
And like, we're going to miss these mornings where it's like, we're trying to read and the noise seems like a disturbance. Someday we're going to be like, man, I just wish there was a little bit more noise in my house.
Yeah.
And so like that reality, we're like trying to balance the, like, okay, we got to make this work, but then also enjoy that and not make it feel like it is just, man, this is such a disruption to our life kind of thing. And that's difficult, and we're definitely in it right now, so I don't think we have it all figured out, but those are things that I feel like for me as a father, I got to get the morning time and I've got to get just some kind of activity throughout my day.
Yeah, the physical activity. I was on a walk with a mom who has 2 special needs kids. One of them is like a baby, 3 other kids, 2 foster kids. I was like, how? And she said, I have to work out every day. It's like, that's my therapy. Yeah. That is where I'm just able to let so much go. And then I go back to my family so refreshed and ready to receive the blessing that this life is. Yeah. Even it's like something chemically happens within you.
So true.
So I love that that's just a very practical for people.
Yeah.
Like, move your body. And then you're alone. You are away from the kids. You get an opportunity to miss them.
Yeah. But and even in that is like, and that's what we're trying to navigate right now is I can prioritize my workout because I have a structured schedule where it's like, I know, hey, lunchtimes, normally people aren't going to put a meeting at 12 o'clock so I can go work out. But then it's, when is my wife going to then prioritize that time?
Yeah.
And so then it's so hard because then she's like working around that. And so that's where even our challenge is, not saying we got to figure it out, but we're trying to figure it out. And I think what we just keep trying to do more than anything, of course, is just the communication side of things. And then being flexible though, and understanding like things are going to happen. We're going to have an unforeseen meeting that will pop up and I've got to jump into this. Can you not do your workout class at this time anymore? But trying to make sure that for me as a husband, she's not playing in the margins and I'm the one that gets to set the schedule and the non-negotiables only in this family kind of thing.
Yeah, the fact that you're even asking those questions though, Arden, and entering into that awareness of like, okay, it's one thing for me to be getting it, but if Christian isn't getting what she needs, like that's a whole factor of my life that really matters to me. Like that in and of itself, to me, shows a shift from what may have been a prior generation's mentality of like, well, you figure out I'm going to figure out me because I'm the breadwinner. I'm the one bringing it home for the family. I'm the father. I'm the leader. You're submitted to support me. That I know I'm generalizing, but that type of mentality to we're partners. And if you're not doing okay, I'm not doing okay.
Yeah.
And we have to figure this out to where we're going. I think I would love to know from y'all's perspective, where have we swung too far? You in particular, older millennial.
Older millennial.
I've thought.
I'm sure we both have thoughts.
Like you did experience a more traditional separation, and then COVID happened, and all that happened with COVID. And I'm not blaming COVID, but Zoom pre-COVID and Zoom post-COVID are very different things. And with our kids home, and then I believed I could homeschool, and so that was even more of a integration of life. So what do you, from your perspective, your perspective of our youngest is 9. Like we're
in a different season.
We are on the home stretch also. So I know what Arden is saying hits me even a bit different of like, it is so fast. Like every single person who ever said the days are long and the years are short, like gold. That is spot on.
Yeah.
And that awareness of like, wow, this time is so precious. And we will have however many years where our life and our schedule is very much our own. We look at your mom and dad, like your dad's a part of 5 different pickleball leagues and killing it in all of them. Yeah. So what for you do you see where you're like, I think we're swinging a little bit too far, where some of this correction is so healthy and helpful for the family unit, which we all agree is very important for a healthy culture at large, but also in our home. What do you think?
Ooh, that's a good question. I would say one of the things that strikes me as a potential danger when you look at the home, I think there's such a premium on safety and control and stability and creating conditions. I mean, we are in a world that values comfort and security, vitamins, vaccines, all the things, the health, biohacking, all of that. It's like, hey, we need to create something where there's a safety, especially considering how chaotic and crazy our world is. Where I think we've lost the emphasis on like, hey, your kids need to learn how to navigate danger well. They need to learn how to break the mold. They need to learn how to fall and fail and get back up. And I remember we heard someone share this one time, like we're too quick to put controls on what kids can do outside the home, and we're too slow to put controls on what they can do on screens. And so when I look at our kids' formation, particularly our sons, I see some of the defining moments of their lives have been when I, as a father, embraced my call to awaken their sense of like danger and adventure and risk taking and purpose.
I feel like you could also say that like I embrace my call to make their mother uncomfortable.
Yeah, absolutely. And whereas you're like, hey, you want them safe and you want them protected, and you want them nurtured, and you want to hold them close. And in a world where a lot of men, I would say, are embracing a part of what it is to be a godly man that maybe is underdeveloped in prior generations, the tenderness, the closeness, like Arden was describing, getting on our knees, looking at our children in their eyes, like all of that is really good. I think what could get lost in that though is like, hey, I'm going to put you in environments where you're going to be afraid, but I'm going to be with you, and you're going to realize you're more capable than you ever realized you were. It's like, for generations, and it was normal for men in particular to have these rites of passage, to break out of the mold of safety and security and into this posture of possibility and potential and adventure. Yeah. And I know, even looking at Asher, who's crossed that threshold in our family, man, when we did a whole ritual when he turned 13, and he became another person on the other side of that. Like the way that he awakened to a sense of confidence and adventure and wanting to break the mold, and his strong sense of justice, like he became a different type of person. And my concern would be that value that fathers primarily lean into, that's a part of the formation of children, that gets lost in this world of like, no, everything has to be safe and everything has to be gentle and everything has to be just right. And we better not create any trauma. Like, listen, like your kids are probably going to have trauma. Like, I'm going to say more definitively, your kids will have trauma. Like they're going to have something that they're going to have to move through, and your presence in the midst of that pain and the failure, the mistakes, that's going to set the table for how they navigate the disorientation of life as they move through seasons to come. So that would be my call out.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I think that's so good. And I would agree. Like I was laughing because we were in the water and my son, we put him on a boogie board at 4 years old and he just fell right off. And Christian's like, no. And I was like, all right, right back on. Like put him right back on. Let's push him again. Because I wanted him, to feel comfortable and feel like I'm in a moment where I'm not just going to get taken away from it, but I can actually do this and I can stick through it. But I know my dad and my uncle are right there.
He was so proud. As he was so proud after he did it the second time. He was terrified after the first time, but the second time, he was so proud.
Yeah. And so I would say, like, for me, what I've seen from a lot of millennial dads, and I think it's the overcorrection that happened. I watched growing up where it's like we had the parents that I had friends that their parents just, they kind of let them do whatever they needed to do. And it was more of this permission, or like, just, we'll give you basically a clean slate. Like we love you and do better. Like we just love you. And I watched as our parents set up very clear boundaries for us and very clear repercussions for those things. And they made us understand, like, if you cross this, it's not about, whether you feel like you should have done that or your emotions in this. It's just, no, this was wrong. And there's going to be a consequence for it.
Yeah.
And I feel like right now, a lot of people are avoiding correction. And it's not about what's the right thing to do, but it's actually what's hard to do as a parent. And they almost package it as like permissiveness is often the comfortable choice dressed up as the kind one. Like we're gonna be okay with not correcting our kids or not being intentional with our kids because we love them and we're gonna see this and we want to overly show them love because maybe we weren't overly showed that because we had very stern and harsh parents and they spanked us really hard and all this stuff. And to me, it's just it almost you're doing the opposite of what you're hoping for. You're not building emotionally resilient kids. You're not building kids that actually understand maybe even how reality works and the world actually works. You're creating this space where they will have a tendency where I watched it with, again, I'm a young parent, but looking at what happened with my friends is I watched them where they grew up and they resented their parents because I feel like they felt like their parents maybe subconsciously just didn't give them what they actually needed. Even though their parents thought they were giving them exactly what they wanted. And so just getting away from this feeling of like, man, I've got to play into my kids' emotions and make them feel strong. And so if they're doing something wrong, I rather than disciplining them, I need to talk through their emotions and figure out their emotions. And it's just like, no, this is wrong. But like help them understand why those things are wrong. I remember even early on is like with Azariah, he's 2 years old. And I was like, there's no way I'm going to spank him unless he understands why I would spank him. And I was like very hesitant to would I do this or not? And I was like, well, I need to get him to understand why like a discipline would happen in his life. And so I started explaining to him, I'm like, okay, Azariah, when you're doing this is disobedience. And I was like, what does disobedience lead to? And he would start saying like what it would lead to, the consequence of that. And I began to start seeing it click into his mind. And so he would start be doing something that he like didn't know. Maybe this is wrong. Maybe this is not. And I'd be like, Azariah, what you're doing right now is disobedience. And I was like, what is disobedience? So he's like, this. And then he would be like, go away from it. And so he had these like clear expectations. And it wasn't like, hey, why are you doing this? What are you feeling right now? And it's not that I'm not emotionally there for Azariah and processing these things, but I've made it clear that I love you enough to correct you, to look at what that means in this season of your life, because I think correction looks so different in every single different season. And I'm navigating that with even, like, you guys have seen it with our daughter. She's very much her no is her favorite word right now. And so it's like, I'm trying to figure out, we're back in that stage of, okay, do I put her in timeout? Do we flick her butt? Like how can we get her to like understand? Cause you can't just be like, if she loves saying no and you just like, no, don't say that. She's like, no, like you're saying no back to me. It's like, oh man, so we've gone the route of, okay, here's the words to say. So, hey, Tatum, we say yes, ma'am, or yes, sir. And it's, no, and so, we're navigating those challenges, but it's the intentionality that I have to take of understanding, okay, what's the season my kid is in?
Yeah.
What does discipline actually look like? And it's not just loving my kid through this, but actually loving them so much that I would discipline them and help correct them and steward them across this journey. And I just feel like there's been too many that have swung this pendulum and we're almost overly emotionally driven. Whereas the Bible's clear, it's like take captive every thought.
Yeah.
It's not play into them and see where they lead to. It's take those things captive. And so we want to help them recognize those emotions, help them understand those emotions and be present to process those things, but not to keep them there and let them just be emotionally driven and unstable.
Yeah. No, that's good. And you want to guide them through their emotions before they choose the disobedience.
Mm-hmm. Exactly. Yeah.
Which you're setting a foundation for that safety for when he's like, hey, I'm feeling, here are my emotions, Dad. Can you help me move through this? Mm-hmm. Can you help me in the in-between where emotions become action? Yeah. Where I can take it captive and re-understand what's happening and why it's happening, and that level of maturity and emotional intelligence. I can't wait to meet your third born.
That's not an announcement.
No.
Yes, I know. I know. It could change from child to child.
I think what Arden's describing though is really important. He's very emotionally aware as a father. He is. He's very aware of what's going on, but he's also aware of the fact that his job is to instill convictions and to create a world where there's a structure of learning that the kid can enter into. I just pulled it out because I couldn't remember where it was, but it's Proverbs 27 verse 5 where it says that open rebuke is better than hidden love. And there's a clarity that is kindness that comes with the type of rebuke that he is describing. And again, this isn't, hey, we're pushing you away. This is a transaction. I don't want to see you until you get your stuff together. We're talking about hey, come here. Like, let's come close. This is an intimate moment. Let's talk about what is happening. Let's talk about the decision you're making. Let's talk about what happens if we continue to make this decision. And I've seen it too, just children who resent their parents. Yeah. And the parents thought they were giving the children everything that the child wanted. And in truth, what the child wanted is they wanted the safety to become. They wanted the safety to explore, to figure out what is right, what is wrong. And they were looking to their parents to be a part of that journey, ultimately pointing them to what God says. It's God's world. We're training them to enter into a world that as parents, we want our kids to go beyond where we've been. And so there is an element there of like, hey, you don't want to just create a carbon copy of yourself, but you also need to instill your convictions in your child. And that's a part of them forming their own understanding of how this world works. Yeah. So that is, and I look at my 16-year-old now, almost 17, and I'm so proud of the decisions that he's made. He's made way better decisions than I did in high school. Yeah. But we've been really clear about like, hey, these are things. Like this path leads to destruction. It wasn't like, hey, go figure this out for yourself. It's like this path leads to destruction. And then there are other things where it's like, hey, have space to figure this out for yourself.
Yeah. Well, and I'll even say this, like as testimony to that is Christian and I were talking about this when we were down in Florida, but we're like, we look at Asher and, 16 years old. And we've watched as he's navigated a lot of those things where it was like, it was even moments where it was like, this is a pivotal moment in your life, Asher. You're going to choose this way. You're going to choose this way. And you guys didn't didn't tell him which way to choose. You guys had instilled all these things from a long period of time that you watched as, yes, he wrestled through all of those things. It's not like you created a bubble around him and he was never going to have to navigate that. You guys, I mean, he went through it and he's going through it.
Yeah.
But I look at the man that he is and I'm like, man, it's just such a testimony to what you guys have done and the consistency that you've shown, even when it could have looked like in that season of like, man, it was all of that for nothing. Like, was all of that just not going to plan out? But it's just that consistency over time that has just shown true with Asher, and it's showing true with your other kids. And they will have those moments. It's kind of like what I said when I look at my son and it's like, what is going on with you? Like, I'm our sweet boy. Like, okay, we need to be, what do we need to do differently? And then we look at things and then it comes right out of that. But I think what happens too with parents so much, and this is something we've been so intentional with, is speaking over our kids, regardless of the actions or the things that they're doing. And so even when Azariah was getting to a place where it's like, man, you're just disconnected or you're not being obedient, we're not going to start saying like, oh, man, he's being disconnected, he's being disobedient. It's like, man, all we would do is just say, Azariah, you're such a sweet boy. Like, you're so intentional, you're so kind. And like, we just speak that over him. And I've seen that with you guys and your kids. And I just look at it and it's like such an amazing thing now to see and looking at Asher and what the man he's grown into.
Yeah. You can sometimes see it as like even a war within himself.
Oh, yeah.
Of like, like you're saying, we laid a foundation, and really going back to the Proverbs you quoted at the beginning, there is a foundation with him where we get to kind of pull back a little bit and be like, okay, God, like, are you who you've said that you'll be for our son? And what you're saying about speaking over them as fathers, mothers too, but we're talking about fathers. As fathers, your words, what you speak into them right now and into their future, where there is so much power in what a father speaks over his children. And you both are operating in that and wielding that authority.
Thanks a lot.
Really, really beautifully. I would love, Arden, for you to just pray us out.
Yeah.
Pray over the mothers and fathers and humans.
Humans.
All the people.
Children. Yes. Well, God, I thank you so much that we get this chance to have this conversation today. And I thank you that you've just given the ability for everyone just even listening here to hear some of these things and see how they can actually apply them into their world and their space. I thank you for the fathers that have shaped the reality in the world that their family is living in. I thank you for the things that they've had to navigate and had to overcome. And I thank you for the things that you are starting fresh and anew in every single one of them. God, I pray for just a new understanding of what you're doing and what you want to raise these children that have been ultimately your children, and you have given as stewards unto these fathers and mothers, that you're just putting a plan and a purpose into every single one of these fathers, and that they'd be more aware of that. I pray that you would just give them the ability to tune out the world, to tune out the days, to be fully present in the moments and the hours that they have with their kids. And I thank you for just the wives. I thank you for how they are so many incredible wives that just come along and support their husbands, but the passions and the desires that you placed inside of their lives. I pray that you would just allow the communication level between father and mother and husband and wife just to go to the next level, that they would be able to communicate and be on the same plane and the same purpose, to understanding how they're supposed to raise their kids and how they're supposed to do life together in such a greater fashion and formed. And so I thank you for the families that are being raised up. I thank you for everyone that's listening to this podcast, that they're coming to a podcast like this because they want to do it better. And I pray that we would see a generation of fathers and mothers that have just grown on the things that have been established in them, are going to do it better and do it just being more consistent and more attentive to their family. In Jesus' name, amen.
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 Thanks for being with us today. This podcast is part of the greater Messenger Network. We're dedicated to making and mobilizing everyday messengers.
If this podcast is strengthening you, then make sure you're subscribed so you never miss an episode. And if you want even more, then click the link below so that you can find ways to partner with us in more ways. Thank you. See you next time.